Welcome, new player. Video intro. I couldn't think of anything to say. In this video, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a rundown on some good tips for beginners that I wish I knew when I first started playing, as well as give you guys some suggestions on the first things that you could do during your very first play sessions in Star Citizen. Tips on making things a little bit easier, how to make a little bit of cash, and then maybe even go and rent some ships that you can try out that come in game packages if you like the game enough to invest in it. I do want to point out, if you do that, please use my referral code, because if you do, we both get a sweet Dragonfly, aka a speeder bike, that we can both use from here on out. That would be sick. So remember, referral code's in the description down below. It's also on your screen right now. But let's get into it. So the very first tip I'm going to give you guys is when you're loading into the game for the first time, you create your character, but who gives a shit about that? You have to select your starting location or your primary residence. This is where you're going to load in at when you first spawn in, as well as respawn at if you don't change your respawn location later on. I will actually show you guys how to do that here in just a second, but you're gonna pick not Orison. Don't do it. It's a great place, but getting out of there sucks. All right, I do have a video if you just so happen to have chosen that and you get lost. I do have a video now how to navigate that place and how to get to the spaceport and all sorts of different stuff on the channel, so you guys can check that out. You could also pick Area 18. This is the one I suggest you do because I feel like it's one of the easier ones to navigate. It's also one of the quicker ones to get to the spaceport. But I also have a video on how to navigate that one for new players, as well as Loreville. I have a video on that. And then there's New Babbage. New Babbage is probably my favorite place. I do not have a video on it yet, but I don't recommend that place because it is so far away from everything else in the game. Starting out, it can be a kind of a pain to go back and forth from there and where you might want to, I don't know, adventure off, whereas the other three places are actually much closer together. But I do think New Babbage is one of the best places in the game, so I do recommend visiting it at some point. But that's my first tip. Moving on, I'm going to give you guys some tips on some of the important default keybinds, because I know a lot of the keybinds can be a little bit of a pain to find when it comes to flying your ship and taking off for the first time. The first thing you're going to do once you get into your seat is you're going to hit the R key. R actually makes the ship ready up, and the Gladius here actually has a cool little animation that I've not seen in any other ship, but that gets your ship ready to go. Like, that's all you got to do, and you can take off right away if you so want to. Another thing to note is that the bar on the left side there, it's white and red, and it's got that little box next to it. If you scroll your mouse wheel, you can change that. That's your speed limiter. The lower you have it, the lower your top speed of your ship will be, and the higher you have it, the higher your top speed will be. I generally just like to fucking crank it, bro. Pedal to the metal, because who cares? Who needs to go slow? Am I right? And then further to the left, you see these little boxes over here, right here. You see VTOL, CPLD, ESP, and gear. Generally, the only things that are important there are your landing gear. When you bring your landing gear up, the little gear symbol will flash, and then it'll go gray. When you put it down, it'll flash again and then light up like it is right now. So that's a good way to check and see if your landing gear is up or down. And then on the right side, you see the altimeter right there. When you leave a planet, you're going to want to make sure you pay attention to that. Once the altitude hits 9,000 meters, at that point, you can actually quantum jump on most planets, unless you're on Orison, which is one of the reasons why I didn't suggest you pick Orison as your primary residence, because that requires you to go from 78,000 meters to 150,000 meters. That's like the only planet that's like that. It's a pain because it's so huge, I guess. I don't know. It sucks. But that's the main reason why I don't suggest living in Orison or going there, and if you can avoid it. Next things next, hitting spacebar makes you hover up and control makes you hover down. That's pretty much the only way to take off and land. And that also helps you taking off when you have hangars that have doors above you. On top of that, how do you take off? Well, you're going to hold F while you're in your seat, and that lets you interact with all these screens. You got your power here, but that's not super important. You got your shields here. You got your ship status here, and you can hit menu in the top left of pretty much all of these screens. Some of them are a little bugged, so it won't work. But then you can select what you want to see here. And generally, I like to have one of these set to comms. Comms allows you to contact the landing services of any place you're at. So if you're inside of a hangar, you can hit this button, menu, go to comms, and then you're going to see wherever you're at. I'm at Bikini Point right now. I'm not in a hangar, but this is how you're going to open the doors if you are on a hangar. You contact the landing services wherever you're at. Usually it has that little meterage, like distance. You're going to hit that. He'll say you're clear launch, and then the doors will start opening. But since I'm on a pad, there's no doors. And then you can take off. You can bring your landing gear up and so on and so forth. Don't run into the station like I almost did. This is also how you're going to contact for a landing spot at pretty much any place. When you get close enough to a spaceport or to a space station, come to your comm screen here. Select that landing service and contact them again. They'll say, please proceed to the assigned landing bay, and you'll get a little waypoint like that for where you need to land. So one of the first tips I will give you guys, besides obviously the keybinds, is to go to any of these space stations above a main city, wherever you pick as your primary residence. So at ArcCorp, it's going to be Bajini Point. It's going to be directly above the main city here. So you can identify that by once you're up out of atmosphere, if you're above area 18, when you look around a planet and see a symbol that looks like that, that means it's actually a main city that you can go to, or a main location that you can go to and land at. If you look around in space above the planet, you're going to see a bunch of stuff. You're going to see stuff like the OMs, or you might see Arc L2 there or whatever off in the distance. Like this is an orbital marker right there. You're going to look for the square symbol like this right here. That is your space station. That's your main space station above the planet. Look for that and go there. And then you're going to land at one of those, because my biggest tip here for starting out is to set your respawn point at one of these locations, because getting back into your ship if you die or blow up, or if you get relogged or whatever, spawning at one of these locations is way quicker than having to take the tram back to the space station every fucking time you die. So in order to set your respawn location, you're going to land at the space station, and you're just going to run inside down to the lobby. Once you're in the lobby, you go up to the iPad, interact with it, and you're going to store your ship. Keep following the hallway and just look around this main area here until you can find the medical clinic. Every station is going to have one of these, and you're going to run in, go up to the regeneration point, and click transfer imprint right here and confirm. Now, once you die, if you die, you're going to spawn right in here, and you can just run down the hallway and get to your ship instead of having to take a huge ass tram that takes forever, and it's such a pain. Another tip I'm going to give you guys is, if you're hurt or if you're thirsty or hungry or whatever, you can actually come to these clinics, interact with the patient check-in. It's going to give you a room. So we got room 3. You're going to run down the hallway, and you're going to look at the signs above the doors back here until you see room number 3, like so. You're going to interact with the door, go inside, and get in the bed. Getting in the bed will heal you. It'll also hydrate you and feed you at the same time, up until about 99%. Generally, it's supposed to be 100, but 99% is good enough. You can also set your regeneration point here, and if you have a more permanent injury, you can get your medical care here by hitting treatment, selecting the injury, and selecting perform treatments. Although that is a little bit more rare to have happen, it can happen, so just be aware of that. Another important tip is to always make sure you have a helmet on, especially if you're on one of these space stations, because if you run out and you don't have a helmet on, you will suffocate and die. Now, if you've already set your respawn point, you'll be good to go. But if you haven't, you're going to be back at your primary residence like ArcCorp over there, and you're going to have to come all the way back. And be aware, it's always a good idea to check it no matter what, because the game will sometimes just fucking take it off of you regardless. Another thing to keep in mind when you do one of these missions is you might end up on the dark side of a planet. If that's the case, it can be very hard to see. Well, if you hit the L key on the keyboard, you'll actually turn on your headlights on your ship. So when you're close to the ground, your headlights will illuminate the ground, and you can see what's in front of you a lot easier. But if you're higher up, it might also still be pretty hard, and your headlights won't reach, so you can actually hit tab to pop a scan. And when you do that, it will actually highlight the surface of the planet, and you can see how close to the ground you are, especially useful when the altimeter is not working because there's a lack of gravity. Another thing to keep in mind when doing missions like delivery missions or even waste removal missions that take you to trading posts that require you to go onto a landing pad and then go inside these buildings is to check all of these white crates you might find, and even some red crates. The white crates usually have food and drink that you can loot, and then you can also take them back to your ship, and you can use those instead of having to go back to a space station and sit in a med bed. On top of that, the red boxes will have armor and even backpacks in them, so you can actually carry stuff onto your person. Makes things a lot easier. If you don't have anything that you can store items on your person with, then you can transfer them to your local inventory and then transfer them to your ship once you get back onto your ship before you take off. The difference between these red boxes and the bunker red boxes is that bunker red boxes will have weapons, but I have not found a single weapon in one of the boxes at these stations, so keep that in mind. Now I want to give you guys a big tip for mercenary missions. 99% of these ones require you to go into a bunker and fight alongside friendlies and take out some bad guys, but every single one of them will have at least one turret on the outside that will target you and shoot you while you're on your approach. To avoid this, you take your ship and you land behind the base. Doing this makes it so that the turret cannot target your ship and it will not blow it up while you're inside the bunker. Now you can't do this if you have a bigger ship. If you do have a bigger ship or there's more than one turret, you're gonna have to spawn a ground vehicle, put it in your ship and land further out behind a ridge and drive the ground vehicle into the bunker. Another thing to keep in mind for mercenary missions is when there are friendlies around, you have to make sure you do not shoot them, not even one time, otherwise you will get a crime stat and you'll end up in prison. But lucky for you, if that does happen, I actually have a video for new players telling you guys exactly how to get out of prison in every which way possible. But to identify these friendlies, it's really easy. Each planetary system has their own colors. So in ArcCorp, which is what we did for this video, they are red and black. In Crusader, they are white and blue. In Microtech, they are also white and blue. And in Hurston, they are yellow and black. So it's pretty easy to identify them. And all your enemies will have some sort of purple or purple light on them. It's pretty easy to find them. Or they'll be really big and dark blue with some purple markings on them. Another good tip for pretty much any mission that requires you to land is once you have done so, before getting out of your pilot seat, make sure you hit the I key on your keyboard. What this does is it shuts off your ship's engines. Doing this will make it so that any outside force will not affect your ship, because sometimes if you don't do this, your ship will randomly get pushed around. Sometimes it'll just float up a little bit into the air and be unreachable, and then you're screwed. Once you get back into your ship though, you get back into your pilot seat, all you gotta do is hit I again and it'll turn your engines back on and you can take off, no problemo. Another big tip I wanted to give you guys is if you find yourself in a mission that requires you to have a gun, but you don't have one and you really don't want to go all the way back to a station or whatever to buy a weapon and then come all the way back again, you can hit 0 on your keyboard to bring up your fist and you can run in. Try to single out an enemy NPC or just go right in and go for broke and hit middle mouse button when you get up close to them. This will do a non-lethal takedown and knock them out. If you're in a group of a couple guys, you're gonna have to do it to all of them that can shoot you. Otherwise, they'll shoot you a bit and you might die or you might just get injured. After that, you can take the gun from one of the people you knocked out, but make sure when you do that, make sure you actually shoot their body and finish the job. Otherwise, the game will not register that that gun is yours and it'll actually teleport it out of your hand back into the body's hand. So you have to actually make sure you finish the kill. Otherwise, the game will glitch out. But that's a big tip to kind of help you out getting going without having to go and buy a weapon, although it is dangerous. So on top of all these great tips I gave you guys, I know it's pretty great, I want to give you guys some recommendations of what you can do to get yourself started here in Star Citizen. So the first thing we're going to do is hit F1, and that's going to open up our MOBA glass. On F1 you can see your wallet balance and all sorts of different information that doesn't fucking matter, it seems. It's not important at all. Then at the bottom you're going to see all these little guys down here. You're going to click on Contracts Manager, and this is where you're going to go to get any of your missions. You have your General tab, which is your legal stuff, and then you have your Personal tab, which is maybe some more illicit. Now I'm not going to recommend any of these, mainly because I haven't done them. You can feel free to pick one out of here if you want to give it a shot, but you might end up with a crime stat and possibly end up in prison. So moving on over to the General tab, you got delivery missions. Delivery missions are probably your best go-to for like your first thing you do. All it is it gives you a waypoint to pick up a package at a certain location, and then once you pick it up, it gives you a waypoint on where to drop it off, and that's all you gotta do. It's a really good way to get the hang of flying around in and out of atmosphere, landing, taking off, etc., so on and so forth. You do have to do a little evaluation mission, which only gives about 3k credits, but then you unlock all of these, which have more objectives and are worth a little bit more money, and the more you do, the more you'll unlock and be able to get paid more. Next, we'll talk about the search category. Now this one, I don't fully recommend doing anything in here, although they are very cool missions. Most of the time they involve you going to a broken down ship somewhere or a destroyed ship somewhere and searching for a package, retrieving it, and then delivering it. Some of them are even timed because if you don't get the packages delivered in time, they'll blow up. Yeah, so it's a little bit stressful, but they usually pay a bit higher like these ones. But 9 times out of 10 for me, they're bugged out. So if you want to check them out later on after you get the hang of it, just to see what they look like, generally they are supposed to work. That's the idea, but you know, hey, it's in alpha for 10 years. Down below that, we have maintenance. Maintenance is super easy. We have a remove toxic waste. Now, this is just like a delivery mission. It requires you to go to a certain location, pick up a bunch of packages, and put them in your ship. But once you take them out of that location, you're done. So it's actually really easy, and sometimes you can get some stuff that you can sell and actually make some extra money, but generally it's not really worth the time to do that. But that is an option you can do. Otherwise, you can just kick them out the back of your ship. Who gives a shit? Another mission type I want to talk about is called investigation. Now, this didn't show up in my original recording for some reason, but these are really cool missions, but some of them can be dangerous, so be prepared. You might need a gun for them. Some of them do glitch out. Do not do any missions that require you to find a flight recorder or a black box, but missing crew ones and missing personnel generally do work, and they're pretty cool because they require you to go into caves or into wreckage and find crew members or even people who just got lost. And you can also find some loot doing these, so they're pretty cool, so I do recommend checking those out. The next one down, we have Bounty Hunter, everybody's favorite contract category. This one is a little bit of a pain to get started because you have to get yourself a certificate. And each level that you unlock requires you to get another certificate. So you have VLRTs or LRTs, and then you have MRTs, HRTs, and ERTs. As you level this up using your rep, which is over here on the last tab on your mobile glass here, you can see all the rep here. You have good and bad rep. Bad rep is what you get when you do illegal shit, and good rep is what you do when you do all these main things. As you level up the bounty hunter reputation, you can unlock the higher level bounties, which will pay more, but are also obviously more dangerous. But it takes a while to level that up, and they're not really profitable until way later, until like the ERT era or the VHRT era. So it's a little bit difficult to unlock those. And on top of that, like I said, you have to get your certification, which generally these require you to go anywhere in the universe. So you could be down here on ArcCorp, and then your certification's all the way up here at Microtech, which is only 59 million kilometers away, which is kind of a pain. But if you really want to be a bounty hunter, I definitely recommend doing that, and then you'll unlock things like this one, where it's a wanted bounty for a NPC and requires you to go to a certain location. Now, most of these are ship battles, but some of them do require you to go down into a bunker and to eliminate a certain NPC down there who has guards around him. So you do need to have a gun and preferably armor, although it's not mandatory, in order to do that. Next one down, we have Mercenary, which is my favorite category. Now, this one has the most important mission of all, Call to Arms. Now, you can accept this right away, and I recommend accepting this even if you're doing bounty hunter missions, because Call to Arms gives you an extra 500 credits every time you kill a criminal, basically. And it seems like it's not a lot, but it does add up after a while, especially throughout an entire play session. But the Mercenary category has my favorite missions in it, including the boarding action, which isn't available everywhere, but it seems like it's in Microtech and in ArcCorp. This mission requires you to go to an 890 jump, big ass yacht of a ship that is currently being boarded by some criminals, and it's also protected by some enemies that you have to take out in your ship first. So you go there, you take them out in your ship, you jump out of your ship onto the big ship, and then you go in FPS style and take out all the bad guys, and you also stop some sort of data upload for a little bit of extra money, but that part's not mandatory, and a lot of people don't even know what to look for there. But I'll try to get some footage for you guys to see what that's like. But that's my favorite mission in the game. They're adding more missions like that here in the future, which is pretty cool. It also has a lot of other things, like almost like a wave survival type of mission, and those generally pay a lot. And you also have some destroy narcotics missions, which those take a while, but they do pay pretty well. But you're gonna come here, and the first thing you're gonna do is do this trial contract. Each place has a different one. It's generally a protect site type thing, or assist in defending site type of thing. So you're gonna do that, and you'll unlock the regular protect site missions. And these ones actually, starting off, these ones pay more than pretty much every other category. And then later on, you can get up to things like 90k plus payments from doing some of these missions, which are pretty great. That's what I have in the Hurston area. I have it almost capped out at level 5 here, and I can do 90k plus credit paying missions, which is pretty freaking nice. And there you guys have it. That's the video. I hope this helps you guys out. I did leave out quite a bit of stuff because there's so much in this game. I've recorded this video like 4 or 5 times, and each time it's either too long or I run into too many bugs or what have you, name it. And I can't seem to get it done. So if it did help you out, or if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like it, hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, etc. Feel free to check out some of my other videos. I do have a video on my channel about starting off, a way to make a bunch of money starting with just 1,000 credits, and how to turn that into over 175k in less than 2 hours easily, or more actually. So that's a good way to start off, and it doesn't require any rep or anything like that. It's something that you can really just jump right into. So feel free to check that one out. And yeah, we're gonna have a lot more videos to come, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.